Hey everyone, it's Ian Norman from lonelyspec.com, and today we're in Joshua Tree National Park. Right now I'm using the Rokinon 20mm f1.8 lens. So I'm going to try it out for the first time tonight in terms of using it for astrophotography. So we'll see how it does. Joshua Tree National Park is 3 hours east of Los Angeles, California, near the desert city of Palm Springs. The park has a wide-open desert landscape that's filled with the bizarre silhouettes of Joshua trees. No two Joshua trees look exactly alike, and that makes them a fun subject for photography. So we just spent a little bit of time trying to figure out what our compositions are going to be, and I think I found the composition that I like using this Joshua tree that's behind me. Right now it's almost fully dark. There's only just a little bit of glow on the horizon, and we've got Venus setting over to the west, and then behind me is Orion, and that's the constellation that I want to shoot tonight. I think the 20mm lens will work really well for that because it's super wide angle. I'll be able to get down low to the ground, so you can get both the Joshua tree and Orion in the shot. Diana and I stayed out as long as we could endure the cold, spending about 45 minutes shooting astrophotos with a Rokinon 20mm and looking for satellites wandering across the sky between our exposures. The Rokinon 20mm did a pretty good job at capturing the night sky. Details across most of the frame tended to be very sharp, and the f1.8 aperture made it possible to capture much of the faint pink nebula in the constellation Orion. Aberration performance is pretty good. At f1.8, a small amount of coma is present in the extreme corners of the image, but it clears up completely by f2.8. On a full-frame sensor, the super wide field of view makes it possible to capture parts of the night sky that are high overhead, while still maintaining the horizon in the frame. Even with only an hour of using the lens, I think our first night out shooting was a success. On the next day, we grabbed our camera gear and headed back into the park to test out some of our other capabilities of the lens under the light of the sun. The close focusing distance is extremely short, at less than 8 inches from the sensor, which means you can shoot with about 3 to 4 inches between your subject and the front element of the lens. At f1.8, vignetting is relatively strong, but sharpness is already very good. Vignetting quickly goes away by stopping the lens down to f4. At f5.6 and higher, the full frame is evenly illuminated and the lens reaches its maximum sharpness. Stop down further and light sources like the sun turn into 14-pointed stars due to the lens's 7-bladed aperture diaphragm. Contrast in harsh lighting scenarios is generally very good and flare performance is excellent, but if the light source is in the center third of the frame, the lens does create a very strong and obvious bright purple flare spot. Okay, so we're back at the same spot that we were last night, just off of Geology Road in Joshua Tree National Park. I kind of decided today that I wanted to revisit this spot, but I wanted to try a different technique this time. I want to make a hyperlapse of a Joshua tree. Since I'm using this 20mm f1.8 lens, since it's super wide and it's fast, and I'm using the Sony a7S, it has a pretty good live view feed at night. I can really see most of the Joshua tree silhouettes against the horizon, and I can see most of the stars, so it makes framing relatively easy. And because it has a super wide angle field of view, this lens should work pretty well for a hyperlapse, so that's what I'm going to try tonight. So this is the Joshua tree that I selected for my hyperlapse. So what I'm going to be doing, right now I've got Diana's camera standing in for mine, and she's using it to record this video. But I am going to be using the A7S, which is what's recording this video right now. But basically what I'm going to be doing is taking one astrophoto roughly every 15 seconds. I'm going to use a 10-second shutter speed so that it's not too long for me to wait between each exposure. And what I'm going to try to do is keep the framing such that I always have the same part of the Joshua tree right on the same point in the frame. And then once the exposure is finished, then I'll move the tripod over maybe roughly 1 foot, and then I'll take my next exposure. So it'll be a lot of sort of waiting for the exposure to finish and then taking a step, waiting for the next exposure to finish, but hopefully the results will look pretty cool. So just spent about maybe 45 minutes trying to complete the hyperlapse. I did 2 different tries. A little bit difficult to try and keep like a constant tracking point during the hyperlapse, so we'll just see what I can do in post-production. It's really cold outside right now. My feet are super cold. Luckily I got to borrow some gloves from Diana, but I think I'm gonna call it a night. I had a difficult time keeping my movements consistent for the hyperlapse, so the motion didn't turn out as smooth as I would have liked, but the results were still pretty fun to create. If you can forego the convenience of autofocus and don't mind using a relatively large lens, overall for the price, I think the Rokinon 20mm is a pretty good value, especially when compared to other fast 20mm lenses. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been trying to figure out a good setup for making more vlogs and in-the-field videos like this one, and I'm going to try to make a lot more videos about photography and Diana's and my travels around the world. If you want to see our latest videos on astrophotography, please subscribe. Also, I try to make a decent effort at answering any questions, so if you have something to ask, submit it in the comments below. Oh, and don't forget to check out all of our gear reviews, tutorials, and inspiration on lonelyspec.com.